you want to talk about ethnic divides, religious divides, where we had alluded to politics as the umbrella sometimes. But how do we better manage our diversity such that we strike a healthy balance of ethnic, religion, and indeed other balances to ensure cohesion and ensure unity and peace?
Okay, thank you very much. I've been in this space for a very long time, so I can relate with it and tell you where we are coming from, some of the problems and challenges, and perhaps where we are going to. Our framework, which is the 1999 Constitution, that makes provision for a three-tier government, the federal, the state, and the local government. As at 1999, with the first democratic government under leadership of President Obasanjo, they came up with what we call the lead, the seed, and the fed. That is the local government empowerment scheme, and all that. But I can tell you from experience, what we've been doing actually is trying to build peace and unity in abstraction. Abstraction in the sense that at the federal level, we mount it very well. Perhaps at the state level, we mount it very well, but at the local government, it is not there. And local government is the front line, for issues around governance, where the people are, where the family, Reverend Hayab talked about, and my other colleagues talked about, the residing. But local government, you and I know, it's near no absence. And that is why I relate strongly, with the federal government's position. If you look at the federal government also, under the leadership of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, realized fundamentally that the local government is very key to whatever structural reforms you need to do. And I think that is why the Attorney General quickly went to get Supreme Court judgment to ensure the independence and the autonomy of the local government area. Because if you don't get the local government areas right, every other attempt to build unity will not just be there. Every sense of ownership and inclusion that we are talking about is just not going to be there. And since 1999, the local government have actually suffered. Suffered in the sense that some places allocations go, nobody knows where the allocation is. So if you want that sense of inclusion, that sense of belonging, that sense of ownership, that sense of, okay, I'm a Nigerian, it must start from the local government area where everybody resides. It therefore, the apparatuses of government, at that level, must be present and seems to be functioning. They've not been functioning, and that's the truth of the matter. So that is why we all must buy into that Supreme Court judgment to ensure that our respective 774 local governments across the country are working and are functional, and people can be elected too. And the people too, the voters at that level to mobilize to ensure that they vote. A second key component is that there is what we call the structure of any society, the substructure, what holds the society together. One of the fundamental things that holds society together is the economy. If your economy is not strong, virile, and enduring, every other thing, the superstructure, which is the politics, of course, which of course also influences the economy, to a very large extent. But it's important to get the economy right. You and I also understand that for a period of time, government actually struggled. When I mean struggled, so the borrowing, struggling to pay wages and to keep government running. I think that in the last 18 months, because I'm a scholar, I'm an intellectual in government, I'm a technocrat that has been in government, and all that, and I can relate with some of these things and say it as it is, because in the last 18 months, if the president comes on a presidential media chart to say that in the last 18 months, I've not borrowed, that is, I've not done ways and means in terms of printing money, and I've not touched a kobo from NNPC revenue, to run the government, it means that there is something great that is about transforming this country. So here we find a government that is structuring, in spite of the hardship, let's be very frank with ourselves, in spite of the hardship, in spite of some of the remedial actions that have been taking place. But I think that if you look at this fundamental structural transformation of where we are coming from and where we need to go to, I think that there is a need, for us to understand that in building this thing, the president is disposed to ensuring that the local government councils, the local government areas are functioning. Once those areas are beginning to function, issues around conflict prevention, conflict management, and conflict resolution at the local level becomes effective. That is why you see people, is because also these things are not working. We talk about issues around state police. We talk about issues around governed areas and all that. But once those things are working, you discover that the conflicts that we're going to be having in terms of violence and all that, they will reduce fundamentally because governance is taking place. And once the economy also picks up, I can assure you also that, for example, this Christmas in Abuja market was overflooded with chicken. In my house, for example, we have over 50 chickens still left because people aren't buying. The price dropped. So what does that tell you? That gives me, for example, hope that as the security people who are working to ensure that the local spaces we inhabit and where farming takes place, I can tell you authoritatively, I have a team of researchers who traveled and they came through Kaduna Road and they arrived at Abuja 10 o'clock in the night. Of course, we were all apprehensive, but they said the road was super busy. So what that tells you is that people are working. You and I, we are all tired of this thing. And I think that the same thing people in authority too, good people in authority too, are very tired of some of these challenges because it's embarrassing, for you, as a Nigerian. Now you go offshore, maybe to other African countries, and they are saying, wait a minute, what exactly is happening? So I think that it's time for all of us to rally around each other, rally around government, rally around our neighbors, rally around, groups and all that to ensure that we begin to deal with these things the way we need to deal it. And I think that I want to call on the political class. The political class should speak with understanding. It doesn't matter whether you're in government or you are in opposition now. Build this country. And in building this country, we need to tell the truth. Where the government is doing things right, for example, we need to support it and then even help to advance it more, open up the frontier. Because there's no monopoly of knowledge. Look at the issue around tax reforms, for example. If you take time to look at those documents around the tax reform, it's a major fundamental thing that is going to bring development to the local level and across board. So what people need to do is to have an understanding. Is that an area, for example, from this particular document you think that has challenges? What are those challenges? You bring it out for dialogue and for conversation, and for it to be dealt with, rather than demonizing particular document or initiatives that comes. Because the more we keep demonizing, the more we keep retrogressing.
Indeed.
And that is why we need to support initiatives that are good.